Yep, armor. I like you. White coat. I could use a cartographer. Very nice. Hello everyone, this is Zenith, and welcome to the tutorial for my villager sorting system, which allows you to sort villagers based on their professions. So you can have your librarians in one area, blacksmiths in another, villagers, clerics, and so forth. So let me get some things set up real quick, and we can get started. All right, first we're going to cover the input system. This is going to be your input block, which you can color code however you decide seems to be most sensible to you. Directly behind that, we're going to have a redstone torch, and above it, we're going to have any solid block that can conduct redstone power. So not glass, for example. It needs to be a solid block. And another torch on the side of that block facing away from the button. And then we're going to point a hopper into the first redstone torch. And coming back from that, we're going to have a line of observers all facing forwards towards the button. And regardless of which one we're going to use, we're going to have an observer facing into the first one. That's going to be what's going to prime the decoder to receive prime the routing station to receive the first signal. After that, we're going to have some pattern of other observers that are looking up. And as you can see, the way this works is you press the button, it depowers this torch, which then lets this torch be powered. So that's going to unlock and then quickly relock the hopper in less time. Like the delay between those two is less than the cooldown time of the observer. So that's going to result in one pulse being sent through here, instead of if we did it this way without that torch up there. You'll see it powers once and then it powers again as the torch comes back on after the button stops being pressed. So this torch is really important. You can't leave it out. So yeah, there's that. And obviously we're going to need a redstone line beneath this because that's what's going to carry the signal. So just for fun, we're going to use this pattern. You'll see it flashes, it's off for a moment, then it flashes again. Or if we wanted to use this pattern, it's just going to be on for a bit and then turn back off. Now if you look over here, we don't have the full lines of observers facing backwards from the hoppers. And the reason for that is because it's not really necessary if you're not going to have anything looking down further back. So if we wanted to do the pattern that I have set up for white over here, that's just two facing down in a row. So we could do that, whoops, and get rid of those two, and we have the signal for white. Now, as you'll notice, if you have them set next to each other, you probably want to save on redstone dust because redstone dust can be quite laggy. So if we wanted a second set next to each other, all you have to do is put blocks up here, and for the sake of argument, we're just going to pretend like there's a button set up there. If we had another set of observers, the ones that are looking up are going to be facing down into these blocks, powering the blocks, which is then going to conduct to the redstone. So you could do that. If you wanted to add a third set of buttons, all you would need to do, and of course the front of this is not set up correctly, but all you would need to do would be to set up another set of blocks right here. And this is if you wanted to maybe move all of the buttons onto one side for some reason, or if you wanted to add a third button to keep nitwits or butchers or something like that. So that's the basic setup of the encoder. And There are 4 different patterns. Whoops. Let me unbreak that. There are 4 different patterns that I used in my design. And those patterns are as follows. So I have that one for white. And then as you can see right next to it, I have that pattern for brown. And then I have, let me go back down. I have this pattern for black or gray, or that technically that's gray concrete. And then I have this pattern here for purple. So if you didn't catch that, feel free to go back and rewind. All right, let's have a look at the control room build. So I'm not going to go into block by block on these encoders here. It's the same idea repeated several times. As you can see, if you want, you can pause the video to see how I have them laid out. There's the view from all angles. So this structure here, I've got this too deep. It's a 3x3, but it's too deep. It doesn't have to be too deep. You can go deeper with it. This is just the minimum depth. And you'll notice that this section right here does not have corners, but this one does, and we're going to see why in approximately now. So we're going to take repeaters, both of those set to 2, and then over on this side we're going to put 2 more repeaters set to 2 in the little cutout that's there. And then we're going to take some observers, and we're going to go 2 up with them, and this side we're going to go 2 over, and the other side we're going to go 2 up and only 1 over. And then we're going to take dust like so. Whoops. We're going to go 2 blocks like that, 2 dust, and then we're going to cut the signal, and we're going to take a repeater on the first setting. The reason we cut that signal is so that when the repeater pushes, powers this, it doesn't cause this to always be on. We're going to take another repeater, set to 1, and a repeater on 2, like that. Here's what the back looks like, and we're going to go 1 down from this red block back here, make a little line, and we're going to take a rail, an activator rail, like so, and then we're going to put another rail like that, and we're going to leave that there for a moment, and we're going to grab some powered rails like so. All right, next we can put a block there, and we're going to put a block here. We're going to take a fence gate, put it there like that, and we're going to take another fence gate and put it here like that. The orientation of these fence gates isn't exactly required. They will do just as good the other way. I just think it makes them less visible from when you're standing in the room like that. If you want to do it differently, that's totally fine. So we're going to take a redstone dot, and we're going to put it right here, and we're going to take a block and put it on there like so. Then we're going to take a repeater, or not a repeater, that's a torch. We're going to take a torch, and we're going to have a dust right here. All right. So that is the control for this gate hooked up, and part of the control for the other gate down there hooked up. And we're going to finish that and hook up the red system, the disposal system, in just a moment. Okay, so we're going to take a torch here. We're going to go down below that, like so. We're going to go down again. We're going to put a redstone dot there. That's not correct. the block goes here. And then we need a slab, and it's very important that this be a slab. It's going to be a top slab. We're going to take dust there. So what's going to happen is anytime you trigger one of those buttons, it's going to open this fence gate, but before it does that, because we have slightly less delay here, this signal is going to come through this torch, down from this torch, and power this gate. So I believe if we want, we can get rid of those two blocks. We can see the timing on that. You see that one opens just a hair's breadth earlier. And here's the part where we skip several minutes of me jabbering. All right, so we're going to finish up our disposal system. So we need a block here. I'm using red. You can use whatever you want. The color is, of course, not important. All right, and a sticky piston facing that way. And then we need a block here and a redstone torch there. So when you click the button, that's going to make the activator rail eject the villager. This is the only spot he can go to. So let's hook up the redstone so that it's going to pull the ground out from under him. So directly under this red block here, we need a dot of redstone. And then we're going to come one down with that. And we're going to come over and we're going to run a repeater into this. So what we'll see happen is he gets ejected and just immediately gets knocked off. And just for kicks, we're going to set that to 2. Okay, now when we eject the villager and he goes to the happy place, what we're going to want is another villager to come in and the empty cart to be able to leave. So we're going to hook that up next. So we need a repeater facing that way. The duration on the repeater isn't important, so I'm just going to leave it on the default. We need a block in front of that with a torch block above it and another torch like so. Then we're going to take a hopper, face it into the torch. So we've effectively created a slightly differently shaped version of this. So next we're going to take an observer watching that hopper. We're going to bring a line all the way up here and power this line with that. So our villager disposal system is complete. All right, now that we've got our villager disposal system hooked up, what we're going to do next is hook up the cart return. We're going to stick that torch there. That's going to power this. I did some testing, and that was really one of the best places I could figure out to get this powered by that wasn't going to risk powering all of this other stuff in the area. It's a rather dense area, so no real surprises there. That needs to be a redstone block. So we're going to come out like this and make a capital T looking shape like so. We're going to put a regular rail here, down through here, and then actually if we put this first and then we do that, there we go. That's what we want. And a curved rail like so. Excellent. So the default is going to be to go this way, but if we are disposing of a villager, we want this to flip. In order to make that happen, we're going to come down here, come out to the side one spot. We're going to grab a redstone dust, put a block on the side of it like so, torch, block on top. just like that. We're going to make this little L shape. We're going to come up one here on this side. We're going to come out like that. So we're going to end up with this kind of shape. We're going to make a little bend here with the redstone. Put some redstone there. We're going to face one comparator in that direction and a comparator in the other direction. What this is going to do is lengthen the signal that comes through after we get rid of the villager. It's going to lengthen this pulse so that this stays turned for long enough. And if we grab a cart, we can see all of this in action. So we're going to stick a cart there. And I'm actually going to also grab a button. I'm going to stick it there. Ooh, I was almost fast enough. Let's try that again. So see that almost immediately after that, it unpowers. Excellent. Okay, now that that part is done, I believe we are ready to move on to the decoder. That's going to be very exciting. Okay, so we have added a little bit of extra blocks to close everything in. Make sure to put some light in here so that we don't get zombies spawning on that block back there. And if you want, you can throw some lights around in here as well. Basically whatever you need to do to stop mobs from spawning, because we do not want zombies getting to our villagers that are sitting in the system. So what these blocks do is they make it so that you can't really see outside of the build. It makes it look slightly better, and of course that is going to be there. So perfect. The only place you can't put a block, of course, is there, because that's where the villagers are going to come down. Sorry, I dropped something on my desk. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to hook these lines together. We're going to have a repeater set on 1 here, and the reason why we pick 1 is because that doesn't mess with the length of the pulse. If we change it to anything higher, it's going to, like I said, mess with the length of the pulse, and pulse lengths are extremely important in this so that the signal goes through the way that we intend for it to go through. So we also need some redstone dust, and that's going to go and connect both of these encoder modules like that. And we're going to set a comparator here, and we're actually going to, no, I need my comparator back. We're actually going to set another one there, and we're going to get a couple of droppers. And inside these droppers, ignore all the command blocks. Nothing to see here. So about 3 stacks of items, maybe a little bit less than 3 stacks, but somewhere in the general vicinity of 3 stacks of items, and it could be any item: cobblestone, redstone, anything that you have a bunch of. Actually, you could even put like 3 wooden shovels in here, and that would work perfectly. What we're looking for is to make sure that this dust is powered and this dust is not powered. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side, except for this one, we're actually going to need 3.5. There we go. So all the dust except for this one is powered. And the reason why we're doing this is because when this repeater sends a signal, this is going to jump up to 15, and this whole line is going to be powered anyway. The only one that we care about not being powered is this one. So if we have all of these being powered to begin with, there's less lag when it switches over. There's less to calculate, I guess. Or at least that's what Kaz said in his video, and dude knows what he's talking about, so I trust him. So expect to see quite a few of these setups where we have a dropper with a comparator. his build, if you happen to go look at the build that he did on his minecart routing system, he uses much longer distances, and he just sets a redstone block with a dust on it 1 block away from the repeater. So you have 14 here, and it drops down to right before the next module, which is perfect if you're going for those kinds of distances. But for space reasons, I'm opting for a dropper with a comparator instead. All right, and next we're going to build the first decoder module that's going to route our white coats to where they're going, or whichever one you decide to do first. All right, so to build the first decoder module, we're going to come over here, and we need to stick a repeater right there. Not in the void. Okay. And we need a block here, and we need a block underneath it where we're going to stick a redstone dot. And we're going to do a similar thing that we've done before. We're going to make sure that this usually has a signal. We're going to do that. We only need a signal strength of 1 though. So there's that. And from here, from here, we're going to come over by 1 and build out our first decoder module. So we need a redstone a repeater here, and we're going to set that on full delay. This one's going to... I can do it. I can do it, I swear. Nope. There we go. Oh, man. So we're going to set that on full delay. We're going to set a sticky piston facing this direction, like so. We're going to take a block, place it here, another one up here, and another one here. Remember what I said about tight quarters? So that's going to go here. We're going to bring that up that way. That's also on full delay. And we're going to have a block there. We need a redstone block right here. And we're going to come from here, come over by 1, and we're going to put some dust there as well. And on the side of that, we're going to come up. Now the shape of the decoder is going to look something like this. Each of these little nubbins are going to have a comparator on them. We're going to run this line all the way down through there, like that. And we're going to put the dust on the top, and then all the way through here, we're going to put in front of each comparator, we're going to put a repeater, and then we're going to put a dust in between each repeater, like so. Now to test and see if we've got everything correct, we're going to hit this purple dude right there. All right, that looks like it worked. So we have the carrier signal, 0, 0, 1. Carrier signal, 0, 0, 1. Perfecto. Let's test another one just for good measure. This one should be first repeater lit, second repeater off, third repeater lit. If we hit brown, first repeater lit, second repeater off, first repeater, or third repeater lit. Awesome. We have done it. Now I'm going to grab a different color of concrete for the combination portion of our program. That would be great if I'd kept it. I like to use a different color for the different bits of circuitry most of the time. So we're going to come out here like this. this is going to look kind of like it's made to perfectly fit in the gaps. Now, if we want to decode one of these button presses, the easiest way I have found to do it is to click the one that we want. I think we're going to do our librarians first, and anywhere that there is dust that's lit up, we're going to put a torch. Anywhere that there's dust that's not lit up, we're going to put a repeater like so. And what this is going to do is, if something is lit up and it's not supposed to be, that repeater is going to send that into this line right here. Don't worry about that. That will go back. Just got a block update. We're keeping it butted so that it stays open most of the time, and then it retracts for just long enough and then comes back out. Anyway, so if the wrong thing is lit up, it's not supposed to be, then the repeater is going to send the sign into the signal into this line. And if something isn't lit up that is supposed to be, the torch is going to send a signal into this line. The goal is for this line to be unpowered, and that will mean that we have it correct. So let's test that again. That line should be unpowered if we hit the white one. And as you can see, through the gap, it is not powered. But if we hit any other one, for example, brown, it is powered. Perfect. Next, we are going to do the reset line. So for the reset line, we need to add on a couple of little bits. So right here, we're going to add this little Y section, and down here we're going to add a little bit of extra run to that. And we need to grab a piston. Let's do rails first. I believe I'm done with blue for the moment. So just over this little piece of the Y here is where our detector rail is going to go. And you can put a regular rail here if you like. And then we have another normal rail here. And then this can be any kind of rail that you want, but I'm going to use normal rails for cost efficiency because even in creative mode, we got to keep costs down, right? So the detector rail is right above this block right there, and that's very important. Now that I'm done with rails, I need to grab some pistons. The first piston that I'm going to need is a sticky piston, and it's going to be facing downwards. We're going to put a redstone block on it, and I'm also going to need another sticky piston directly underneath this detector rail here. So that should be correct. Yes, it is. And we're going to have a observer facing away like that. And behind that, we're going to put a solid block of some sort. I'm using lime concrete because this is the reset line to make it easier to see. And we need a regular piston on the back of that. And then directly below that one, we need a sticky piston, and we're going to put a block there. So when a cart rolls over this line right here and gets through this intersection, when it hits that, this piston's going to push the observer forward, and then it's going to pull it back, powering this block right here. And that's going to do move some blocks, which we haven't added yet. But eventually, this line's going to get unpowered. And once this line gets unpowered, this piston becomes unpowered, it pulls that block up and the signal is going to continue through like so. And all of this is going to get cleared out. So let's add in the blocks that are going to make that happen. So we're going to put a redstone block here, followed by 7 glass blocks or some sort of transparent block. That may not be strictly necessary, but that is the way I prefer to do it. Next, we're going to have an observer facing that direction, like so. Then we're going to have another transparent block, and we want an observer facing upwards, like that. Perfect. Next, we have an observer facing into this glass block here, and we have an observer facing that observer. And we're going to take, I need a repeater. Full delay. That is going to be pointed into this block right there. Remember I said this was super close. And a piston like so. That should be our reset line done. In order to test that, I'm going to use a button to simulate a cart rolling over. Did everything do what it was supposed to do? Doesn't look like it did. What did I do wrong? Yeah, that didn't unlock. I have clearly goofed in some important way. Let me troubleshoot this and I'll be right back. What have I done wrong? That's right. Aha! I found it. I forgot an important block. So, this line comes out of the encoder. We've got the observer facing upwards. I forgot to put that block right there. This is going to power that block, which is going to send the reset signal. All right, so now if I push this button, there we go. Everything happens the way that it's supposed to. This is all cleared, except for that, and the signal got sent forward. Excellent. Now let's do the switching. So this is going to get sent into a torch tower, which means, of course, we need a torch. Ta-da! Like so. So this is powered, which means this is powered, which means the default is to go straight, which is what we want. Now, this is somewhat directional. The default way that rails are going to curve is going to be based on whether you're going north-south or east-west. So if the default happens to be curving that way, and that's not the direction you want this to go, the easiest way to handle that would be to put a torch on the side, like so, and do it like that. And in those orientations, that will fix it. Basically, it's just up to whether the default, when it's powered, is where you want it to be. You just have to get it to be inverted by changing the torch tower slightly. So this section is done. And essentially, that's the heart of the build. You can continue this down that way to the direction that you want. You go around a curve. You basically just build several copies of this exact same decoder. It actually is way easier to build the second time around because you're not dealing with all of this stuff around it. So you make multiple copies of this and you're good to go. The only other thing that we're going to add is as follows. So this right here, this line is going to shift over. And let's do concrete. Let's do yellow for this because this is just a signaling line. We're going to put a concrete here. Yeah, no, go ahead. There we go. Put concrete here. We're going to take some powered rails, like so. Doot, doot, doot. So when this scoots over, it's going to briefly power this rail, and we're going to have an observer looking at it and sending that into this block, which is going to give that light a little blink. So if we send that there, we are going to throw a button on the other side of this so that we can see it when it happens. Boom. There we go. Do you see the light turn on? Ta-da! There we go. That lets us know that the villager has cleared, and we can continue on with the sorting. The only extra thing that's vitally important, I can just do it this way. The only extra thing that's vitally important is in between each one of these modules, and I'm not exactly sure what mechanic causes this, but in between each of these modules, you have to have at least two repeaters set on one tick. No matter how close they are, there have to be two. The other thing that seems to be important is that the block directly before this line comes into play needs to also have some amount of juice in it. I think I'm not sure what mechanics cause that, but when I did it without those things, I ran into some issues. We're going to pop over to the finished build. Surprise, this is the same world. And you can see what I have going on here. Or rather, one repeater is fine. One repeater is fine. No repeaters is not fine, is what I've discovered. You have to have at least one repeater, not two. I misspoke before. So here we've got the same situation with this, and this is coming directly out of the first module, as you can see. So we've got a signal strength of 2, which one stack will give you a signal strength of 2, going into a repeater, which doesn't seem like it would be necessary, but definitely is. And if you would like to see actually what happens if we don't have that, I can show you fairly easily. So let's do purple, which is 003. Oh, hey, buddy. All right. So, we missed it. Hang on. Let me break this track. Oh, that guy's actually purple. So we sent a not purple guy to the purple area. Okay, so remember it was 001, right? This signal gets totally messed up if we don't have a repeater here. Thanks for playing. All right, so if we do it again, you'll see now that we've added that repeater there, it's going to actually work. And we're going to get 003 again. Or 001, rather. So that is an important gotcha to keep in mind. You want your comparators to have everything but the last piece of the line lit, like so. And I believe that's about it, frankly. Yeah, that's everything. So just like in the showcase, I'm going to leave a link to the world download in the video description. I'm also going to build up a couple of variable ways that you can do this, different configurations. In fact, you know what? I'm not going to do that, because the better way to go about you learning those things would be to watch Kaz's video from MyZuma Games, because he goes over the different ways that you can decode this signal. And he has a world download as well, which is got a lot of really interesting applications and ways that you can handle this in it. Well, that does it for this tutorial. As I mentioned before, a link to Kaz's video will be down in the description below, along with a link to the world download to this world right here. Hopefully you've enjoyed the tutorial and perhaps even learned a thing or two. If so, please hit that like button. And if you are interested in seeing content like this in the future, feel free to subscribe. I'm always looking for constructive feedback, so leave them in the comments below, please. This has been Zenith from me and Captain Squeaky Chair, apparently. Take care, be good, and stay crafty. Down below in the description. let's not break that. Quit breaking all the things, Z. Creative mode is dangerous.